All right, first things first, anytime you're using tools, especially power tools, anything with a cutting blade, especially saws, skill saws, table saws, chop saws, anything like that, chisels, anything that you can damage your eyes, obviously you want to wear safety glasses, okay? I definitely recommend goggles or safety glasses. Gloves, not mandatory, but you might want to depending on the material you're cutting and if you're not used to it, okay? If you have softer hands, you work it out on a computer. If you're a musician, you don't want your hands to get all banged up, stuff like that. All right, this is a circular saw, okay? Basically, this is made to cut framing lumber. You can cut finished lumber, but for the most part, you use a circular saw, something like this, for ripping plywood, cutting 2x4s, things like that, working on your deck. Okay, so 7 1/4 inch blade. So if you went to the store, you would look for 7 1/4 framing blade. There's finished blades, fine finish. Okay, one rule of thumb: the more teeth, the more small teeth you see on a blade, the more it's going to be for cut and finish material. Okay. The less teeth, frame, okay? Because you're not worried about splintering and stuff like that when you're doing rough lumber, if you're framing your shed or something like that. If you're cutting trim or something nice and you don't want a lot of splinters, more teeth, okay? And nowadays, just look at the blade, it'll tell you right on it. Plywood, fine finish or framing, okay? There's different ways to cut plywood. There's different ways to cut 2x4s. You can use clamps, you can use nails, you can use your buddy, you could use gravity, you could use your foot. Those are all dangerous. But anyway, clamps are good, nailing is good, your buddy's good. Always make sure that this works. This is your saw guard, sorry, I always call it a guide, saw guard, okay? You don't want this thing to get stuck after you make a few cuts, and you cut, and you cut, and you cut, and you put your saw down, because you're so used to just cutting and putting it down, and the blade is stuck open with a chunk of wood in there possibly, and you put the blade down on the ground and the blade's still spinning, this thing kicks back. It does happen, especially if you're cutting a lot of material or it's wet. It gums up in here and gets stuck. The guard gets stuck up. You cut a bunch of stuff, you put it down, and it kicks back because that blade hits and it kicks the saw at you. I'm not saying it'll cut you. It can, or it could just bang you in the shin or the foot, depends where you're putting it. Always check your guard between every single cut, okay? All circular saws usually have a grip on the front, so it's a two-handed operation. You're cutting with one hand and you're holding with the other one, nice and straight, okay? And then you have a guide in front. You line up that little slit. Usually lines right up with your blade. Okay, you might have to try a couple to make sure you're on the right spot, because I have a couple on this one. You make sure you're cutting on the right side, and that'll tell you where to cut. Okay. All circular saws have a lock that makes this table go up and down. Okay. Obviously, or if you didn't know, that controls how deep you cut. Okay, if you're cutting something thin, you don't want to go wicked deep, so you don't cut through your table or anything. You can unlock this, slide this down, so you only have a little bit of blade showing, okay? If you're cutting something thicker, 2x4 or thicker, you push it up, now you can cut up to like 2.5 inches, okay? Thick. All right, so lock that in. Make sure this thing's always locked before you start cutting so it doesn't move up and down on you, okay? And one other thing, they all bevel. Usually there's a handle on the front. You'll see some numbers. This one unlocks right here, and that allows this blade to cut on a bevel. Okay, if you had to cut on an angle, just like that. Push it up, it locks in place, and then you close it. Before you change your blade, always unplug. Always make sure your plug is not frayed. You don't want to get zapped, okay? I'll show you how to change the blade. Okay, here's that black push button. They all have, you just gotta find it. Sometimes it's in a little different spot, it depends what brand. Mine's right here, okay? Push it in. Sometimes you hear it click, sometimes you don't. Since it's not plugged in, I'm gonna use my hand. I'm gonna open the guard. I'm pushing that button in, and see how this thing will not keep spinning? That's because I have the button pushed in, so I locked it. So now, I can hook my wrench, make sure my wrench is the right size. Or if you have a socket, I just don't have one handy. But you can use a wrench. Oh, that actually came off. Turn this thing pretty easy. All right, took the nut out. And then you usually have this spacer right here, okay? That comes off too. Blade comes out. Now I can let it go. And I can put a new blade on this thing, okay? I'm not going to, because I don't feel like going to get one out of the barn. But I'm gonna put this one back on. Letters right here, okay? Open the guard, slide it in, push it down tight, make sure you can read the letters. Put that little piece back on it, the little spacer. Take your nut, put your nut back in, hand tighten. Push down on my button, which you guys can't see, but I'm using my thumb right there. Pushing down on it, moving this blade. Ah, hear that click? There it is. Sometimes I have to turn it. This one's old. And now, tighten it back up.